tonight we are going to be talking with founder and CEO of Being True to You, Deanne Adamson, and we're very excited about that.
Yeah,
so we are
really
grateful to have you on. We're grateful for the work that you're doing. We're excited to hear about what brought you to this work and everything you do. So welcome.
Amazing, you guys. It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great.
So can you start? Just tell us about yourself, what brought you to this, how you started Being True to You.
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks again for having me on today. Happy to share a little bit about who we are, what we're doing, what we've learned in this arena. So I'm Deanne Adamson. I started Being True to You 12 years ago in 2010. Before that, I was in mental health counseling and I worked in different sectors. I worked in the judicial system, I worked in the medical system, I worked in the nonprofit sector. And so I was becoming familiar with the different states of suffering that humanity was facing and going through, and also the challenges that people were facing and trying to get help. And as a counselor, I learned a lot, and I was at the same time a little bit unfulfilled because I think I had it in me to do deeper transformational work. You know, that was something that was powerful to me, was actually going within and doing like deep work, not just looking at surface issues. So there came a day when I thought, I want to do more. I want to do something different. And I ended up starting a coaching company called Being True to You. And very quickly after I started that, I met the ibogaine community. So that was my entrance into the plant medicine world. When I heard about it, I was like, this is so crazy. You know, there was a friend of a friend that said, you should go to Mexico and check out what they're doing down there with ibogaine. And I thought, what's ibogaine? And I heard about it and I was like, weird, you know, and I didn't think it would go anywhere, but I thought, okay. So I went down to Mexico and I observed some treatments, and I met some, you know, American gentlemen, young adults who were addicted to heroin and going through this experience. And I talked to them before and after, and within one weekend, I was just like, wow, like, what is this? And I saw a complete change through that one experience. Now we know, getting deeper into the work, it's all about the integration and there's a lot more to it. But in that first weekend, I was pretty mesmerized by what I saw. And I ended up doing aftercare for that ibogaine center, and then eventually other ibogaine centers. And then I started doing preparation and integration for ibogaine providers. And then that just really took off because people were so dedicated to finding another way out of addiction other than conventional means. They wanted to be successful. And for a lot of them, this was their last chance, is how they felt, and their last straw with their family. So they were dedicated. They wanted to do the work. And so I really just stepped into an arena at the perfect time when coaching was needed. And then it just kind of blew up from there. We started having other medicine clinics call us and meeting people and realizing that there was no preparation and integration industry. And that doesn't mean there wasn't professionals out there doing it, but there was no industry. There was no companies doing it. There was no talk about it back in 2010. And so I'm sitting here thinking, wow, like I just discovered like a new industry. So that's how I got started in addiction recovery work, transformational work, and in, you know, psychedelic preparation integration was through the ibogaine community. But then that started to transfer to all different kinds of plant medicines and even different kinds of transformational tools. So then over the years, Being True to You has evolved into an addiction recovery coaching company and a psychedelic integration coaching company where we train and certify our own coaches. We've trained people in nearly every continent except Antarctica, all around the world. And in our process, we have, I'll talk about the coach training before I jump off, but we do integration coaching for individuals and families, and we do coach training for professionals and new coaches that want to come into this work. And then we also do before and after care for retreats, which is really special too, because there's a lot of amazing retreats out there and really good treatments, and it's hard to do all of it. And so what we're doing for these centers is now we're bookending them. We can do preparation coaching with people virtually and their families, help them understand what they're stepping into and get prepared, and then do integration coaching afterward to extend those services and make sure that the people, the retreats, and also just the industry at large, the movement at large is really taking these medicines seriously as therapy and getting the best results out of them that they can.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you really just described exactly what my husband wants this coaching part of our platform to look like, with these retreats having the pre and the post.
Yeah, I think there has to be some kind of network there, and just to focus on that, because as you see, without those integration, this is just, it's just an experience. And, you know, you've experienced and you've seen, like, kind of like us too. I mean, you started with just nothing, and then you've grown this,
The need
and
was
that's
there.
kind of where we are. And the need is there for these medicines. The need is there for the integration, and the need is there for the education. So,
Can you tell us a little bit about what the Being True to You offers? What does it offer when somebody comes in and decides, hey, I want to do this? How do you start?
Yeah, so it depends, you know, if we work with clients, we work with coaches, and we work with clinics. So we basically have like 3 verticals that we work with. And so it depends who's coming to us, but we offer transformational coaching in general. And basically what transformational coaching is leveraging hard times, hardships, and suffering as motivation for growth. So instead of looking at our ailments, our hardships, and obstacles in life as unfortunate and unfair and things that need to be eradicated or relieved, instead it's like, hey, these are opportunities to do the work. This is the entrance into the journey of the true self. I mean, really, if we didn't have suffering at all, then we would just sort of give ourselves over to the material world completely. We would really never find the spiritual path. And that's something I think that our coaches deeply understand, and our clients doing psychedelic work discover, is that it's this spiritual journey, this higher path in life that people are being called to. And it's the journey of suffering. It's the journey of addiction. It's the journey of adversity that really brings people to their knees and brings them to their heart center. And so we offer transformational coaching, which is depth coaching. It's very holistic. It's not just surface level life coaching, although that is encompassed as well. So we offer transformational coaching to individuals and to families, and whether they're going through chronic addiction or some other kind of state of suffering, or just wanting to generally like level up their life. And in those situations, we often work with family members too, because when one or more family members participates in the process, it becomes even more powerful and even easier and more exciting to change. So this has been something we've done from the beginning. We offer those services to clinics. So like I said, we bookend them with before and after care, preparation, integration. And we do that through courses and sessions and workbooks and different materials. It depends what people like. And then we do the coach certification program. So the coach certification program is probably our bread and butter. I've spent a lot of time on it. I have it right here just so you can see how extensive it is. It's 800 pages. It's 3 different parts. And so we have, you know, part 1 is the recovery guide, part 2 is the coach's guide, and part 3 is the specialist guide. And it's 30 different lectures where we take people through a journey to understand what is this transformational process? What are we actually transforming and moving toward? What is the coaching process? What does it mean to be a coach? How do you work with people from a coaching perspective, meaning not a licensed medical professional, and take them through this process of healing without diagnosis, without, you know, medical treatments and things like this? Like, what are coaches allowed to do? So we get into that, and then provide a new nomenclature for people to understand different psychological states, and different personality traits and things like this. So it's a very comprehensive training that we've built, not from textbooks, not from academia, actually from direct experience, working with into the thousands of people and their families through this transformational process, and really observing for ourselves, what is that process of change? How does one change their mind, and how does one change their behaviors and their life? And that's how we built the program, I would say, is off of all the clients we worked with and all the coaches that came in. And Dr. Dan Engel is a part of the final piece in the training, which people really like when he comes in. And then once we certify people, they become a member of our, or they can apply to become a member of our directory. And that's another service we offer to retreats, is a coaching team. So if you have a retreat out there and you're thinking, gosh, I want a coaching team, but I don't know how to put it together, I don't have the time to do it, we can either manage a coaching team for you and run that, or we can actually just create a team and give it to you for you to manage. And so we offer those services. And then, more recently, we've now been training and certifying retreats themselves, because there's more retreats popping up every day. A lot of times these are medical doctors that know how to do the medical part very well. But when it comes to the hospitality part and holding a container and bringing in sitters and bringing in staff and creating like this cohesiveness, that's a whole different story. And so my background's in hospitality as well. And so we now have a hospitality and sitters training and are starting to certify retreats. So we work with, clients, coaches, and professionals, and we also work with centers.
That's incredible.
Very
Yes,
amazing.
very
I mean,
comprehensive.
you are just,
Yeah,
you're
that's
just, I
incredible.
think our visions are very, very similar.
Yeah, it's very fun. I have the hospitality background myself.
Wow,
My
just
whole
what you're
life.
even doing with how you're integrating the retreats and getting the safety factor and the ethics involved is just, it's not, I'm not saying clinical, but I'm saying it's ethical.
And coming at it from every angle.
And I absolutely love how you involve families. I mean, that is a cool corner to take, because when we come off these journeys, our families don't know how to react. And that's a great angle for this, to involve the families more.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
So when you get the families involved, is it generally before, say, somebody goes and on a plant medicine journey, or how does it work? I love
it's different ways. That's oftentimes how it starts, is that one person wants to do a psychedelic experience, and then the family's either for it or against it. Either way, they're curious, they want to know. And so either they will ask if they can be involved, or we'll reach out to them and offer, or their loved one will say, hey, can you involve them? And so typically the more serious cases is where families get involved. So like, again, chronic addiction, the family's sponsoring the treatment. They don't quite know what it is sometimes, but they're paying for it. And so they just want to understand. So we give all families that we work with a chance to jump in. And it's been life-changing for the families to get involved, because first of all, you need to be educated about how plant medicines work, or your comments are going to distract from someone's integration. You'll be either asking them questions because you're in such shock and awe and you're just interested, and that takes them out of their integration, even if you're positive and curious, but you're asking them questions that are more educational in nature and not processing in nature. So that part of helping families become well-informed, helping families understand that, they might come home with a complete shift, because families don't trust it, right? They're like, I don't believe it. You can't change that quick in a weekend. And it's like, actually, they can experience that kind of change that fast. They can't maintain it. No, they will have to now go and integrate that, but they can experience those major shifts. And when they come home and the family's like, I don't trust this, I don't think this is real, it takes away from the person who's like, well, it feels real. Like, I had a major shift and I want to now cultivate this. So that really helps. And then, a lot of the issues stem from family dynamics, not always, but sometimes it does. And so when the family can stop projecting on everyone else, and everyone can join the journey and start looking within and figuring out, where's my shortcomings? Where's my addictions? Where's the areas that I can strengthen myself? It just becomes really powerful.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, I mean, it's for us and our families, I mean, it's watching somebody go through that experience that there's the proof in the pudding, right? And so I imagine when these families watch their loved ones walked through this process and have the guidance and support of your coaches, it encourages change within the entire family.
The whole dynamics start changing.
And I will say, what has built a lot of trust in families is psychedelics, because when parents will actually approve of their, adult kids doing these things, it's like, really? Like, you're approving of this? And so just the fact that parents have shown interest, and siblings, even if they're not doing the experiences, it does bring the family together, and it does give hope to families. I mean, I've had people come to us many times and just say, heart medicine or different plant medicines have saved their family's life and the cohesiveness in their life, because sometimes the issues are hard to access and the emotion is so thick and the walls that have been put up are just so heavy. And through plant medicine experience, all that stuff just vanishes. Even if it's only temporary, all of that stuff vanishes. So now the family can connect at a heart level and start talking to each other. And so, yeah, I mean, it's fun to see when families step into this work
Right.
together, but at the same time, again, it only takes one or more people in the family to start doing the process to start that whole transformation for the whole family. Like, not everyone needs to do plant medicines, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Right. For sure.
Right. Wow.
But
That's incredible.
definitely a great roadmap you're building there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So let me ask you this. Do you find that, so you've been doing this, tell me the number of years, just over 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah,
you
we
said?
started in 2010. So gosh, going on 13 years now.
Okay. And do you find that it is getting more and more prevalent, and especially now, right? With these, with Michael Pollan's documentary that came out, and with all of these celebrities and people that are stepping
Aaron
out,
Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers saying, I've done ayahuasca. Do you find that this is really coming to the spotlight?
Yeah, I think it goes in waves and trends, and you have different people. So you have like the old school plant medicine people who are kind of like now, like, hey, I've done enough plant medicine. I'm kind of, I'm kind of graduated from this path and I found a different path. And so you have different pods of people. And like the veterans, like I'm saying, some of them are like, okay, I think I'm moving on from plant medicines. Then you have people who are just discovering them. And so I think we're going to kind of see waves through the psychedelic movement. Right now we're seeing a wave of ketamine clinics because it's legal and it's a way that people can start up their psychedelic clinic. They can use ketamine, refine their processes and learn how to do this. And then eventually the hope is that psilocybin and heart medicine, which is MDMA, things like this will become legalized. And so then I think we'll see, waves of different demographics coming in, talking to their true self, having those spiritual conversations, figuring out what's most important to them. And then, some people stick with the path and some people find their spiritual path and continue on. So yes, I think that it's becoming more well known. I think it's becoming more accepted. I think that every demographic for a while has been interested. Like even when I was working in the Ibogaine centers, I'm telling you, every demographic from the top of society down to every kind of person. I couldn't believe all the people that were addicted to opiates and heroin. I mean, just soccer moms and doctors and sometimes pilots and physicians and dentists. And you just don't realize that all of humanity has more similarities than we realize. And so I do think that that the trend will continue. I think the movement will grow. I think that challenges will come with it as well. And that's why the movement or the industry, whatever you want to call it, will really need people with integrity who are holding themselves and the people around them accountable to do really good, ethical, clean work with consistent follow through. And if that's the case and people can hold these things in a very high regard, I think that the movement will continue to go smooth. So yeah, I would say it's still on the rise for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, can I ask you, do all your coaches have to have a psychedelic experience?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, in general, we like to brand ourselves as a transformational company that helps people through transformational experience of any kind, such as psychedelic experiences. So we don't brand ourselves specifically as a psychedelic company because we really believe in autonomy and people having the choice to choose what kind of transformational tool they want. And there's a lot of transformational tools. There's ancient tools, there's modern tools, there's technological tools, there's techniques, there's spiritual practices, there's medicines, and there's psychedelics. And so we have never in our 13 years asked anyone on our team to have a psychedelic experience, but I will say we tend to attract people who have been doing them. And those who have come in who haven't had experiences, such as like parents. We've had parents come in whose kids have done psychedelics. They hear about us and they're like, hey, I used to be a counselor, I'm a social worker, or, I've always been drawn to help people. I want to join the training. And eventually they seek an experience out, I find. But we have never as a company asked our coaches to have those experiences because, again, it's the being true to you model, right? It's being true to yourself. And we really believe in finding the path of the true self. And each person has to identify that for themselves. And as you know, with these psychedelic experiences, you have to have a calling to do them. If you're kind of coerced or pushed, it's a different kind of experience. And so we don't ever even ask. We definitely don't mandate it, but most of our, coaches have had these experiences. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you tell us, I know you touched on the coach training program. Can you tell us a little more detail about it? How long it lasts?
And what happens afterwards? I mean, afterwards, are you, because, we know a lot of coaches that have been through this program, and respect them highly. And
Cool.
so afterwards, tell us a little bit about everything there.
Okay, so yeah, like logistically with the coach training, I mean, first of all, just come to us at beingtruetoyou.com. We have a team that is there every single day. So just send us a message to coaching@beingtruetoyou.com via email, or just go to our website. You can contact us there and we'll call you back. The program is all online. I saw a question in the chat box. Where are we? We're a virtual company. We're all over the world. I'm based in Colorado, but we have coaches all over. It's 100% virtual. Our training is 5 months. We start every early September and every early March. So you can do the fall or the spring training. We're in open enrollment for the fall right now. It'll start in September and it'll wrap up toward the end of January with some workshops going into February. Basically, there's 30 levels. We meet on Monday and Wednesdays for those lectures. You can do the morning class or afternoon class, evening class, depending on when you work. After the lecture, we have an open discussion, and the open discussions are just really powerful because we go through these very deep lectures. It's a lot of deep information, and it's not just about the professional track. It really is a personal development track. I mean, our coaching asks you to step up as a human being and a spiritual being more than I think people realize. And that's what's so special about it, is because you're doing the work as you're learning to be a coach. And so we drop into these open discussions, we process it, we really valued people's direct experiences more than reading, academic scientific journals on what this state of suffering is, or how relevant, how something unfolds. We really like to look at our personal experiences. And so it's really fun in the open discussions, because whatever topic we talk about, someone can be like, hey, I've experienced this, or, my family members experienced this. And so it's really profound for us to be able to unpack these scenarios. And then we have expert workshops. So we have senior coaches that have been teaching our experiential workshops for many years now. And that's where people get the hands-on work of what does coaching actually look like in real life? How do we work with people's emotion and difficult experiences and their traumas when they come up? And so people really like the workshops in addition to the lectures, because that's when the coaching really comes to life. And then we have support groups, because people's personal stuff comes up naturally, and we want to create that space for people. We have a mentorship program, so everyone gets a mentor through the program to just help you logistically go through your coursework with you and just support you emotionally. Because what we started to realize is that the coaching program is like a psychedelic experience in and of itself.
Yeah.
5-month experience, and you're doing all the same things. You're doing your shadow work, you're doing, that self-reflective work, you're reevaluating your life and your routines and your relationships. And so we create a lot of space for people to process and to help them through that. And then we have coursework to process the material deeper, so that when you leave, how to answer questions. If someone says, what do you think addiction is? What do you think plant medicine is? What's integration? What's coaching? What's transformational coaching? What's the difference between coaching and counseling? By the time you're done, you can answer all those questions in your own words, because in the coursework, you have to write it out. You have to think for yourself. So with the way that our coursework works is, you're not answering questions that we gave you the answer to. You have to think for yourself and write those things out, so that you can get on podcasts and you can speak to client leads and families and anybody who's questioning you. You can answer all those questions because you've thought each of them out. So there's a lot of features. We also give like a coach's toolkit, so that you have all the coaching forms and all the business forms that you need to start coaching. And then afterward, you can apply with one of our placement organizations. We build relationships with people like you guys that are like, hey, we have coaches, or we want coaches. And a lot of people know us now in the industry. So they'll tell people, go train with Being True to You, then come back and we'll hire you. And so after people graduate, then they can start applying, to work with other companies. And when they say, I have a Being True to You certification, usually people will recognize that, which is really cool. We're really happy about that.
Definitely.
And they definitely
Yeah, for
recognize
sure.
it.
They definitely do.
What'd you say? Oh, they definitely recognize.
Yeah.
You're definitely recognized in
Yes.
this industry. So
Thank you. A few years ago, we really started noticing that when big organizations were sending everyone to us to train, and we're like, we don't even know them. So we would call and say, we'd like to introduce ourselves. Thanks for sending people over. And even PhD professionals are training with us because the training it's like all the stuff you don't get in grad school and in doctorate school, because it's a completely different track. You have academia is very science-based, it's very empirical. And with our process, it's very multidimensional, it's very spiritual, it's very holistic. And so it's unique.
it's a great program.
It is. It's an incredible program. So your next one coming up, the admission goes through September. Can you go over those dates again?
Yeah, so we start September 7th with orientation, and we start September 12th with lecture 1. So if you want to sign, you want to get signed, I would sign by September 1st, just so you can get ready for the course and get mentally prepared, get your schedule ready. But, we will take registrants up to September 7th. And then we have orientation. We have a meet and greet on September 9th, which is really powerful. That's when you get to meet everyone in the community. And that's another amazing thing about being true to you too. Like once you come into the coach training, then you're an alumni with us, and we have hundreds of coaches all around the world. Those are facilitators, those are professionals, those are people from every industry. And all of a sudden you have just this big family of people, again, that you can network with, you can build, teams with and collaborate with, and, seek out jobs, and also have an accountability board, because in this line of work, there's no board, there's no legislature around this. Really the whole movement is still a free for all. And because of that, we have to be very responsible. We have to create our own boards. We have to create our own way of checks and balances so that we don't go to extremes, we don't lose ourselves, give our power away. We have to continue to ground ourselves and continue to look at what's most important. How can we keep learning from our lessons? How can we, continue to hold this movement with integrity and compassion and excellence? Because it's really easy for movements like this to go haywire and to get hijacked by other agendas, and then you lose the power, and then they become counterproductive. So.
Well, it can be the Wild West, right?
I love everything. Your vision is pretty powerful. I love all your ethics. I love the way how you're creating new things, and just your visions are perfect. For what we're trying to establish here with this community in this medicine space, it's just a beautiful thing. And I think Tuesday we're going to have Tyler and I think Penny on with you guys. We're going to keep promoting you guys and get your name out there, keep this conversation going.
You're going to be able to find their, them being true to you on our website. And we certainly can ask us at the Plant Medicine Path for information. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you need to get out there?
Gosh, I don't know. It's just such a pleasure, getting to hang with you guys. Everyone that I know that knows you speaks really highly of you. I love what you guys are doing, stepping into this work. We've had conversations for years, like what's the right thing to do? Is it right to be involved in this? Because we've seen the dark side of, psychedelics. We've seen big money coming in. We've seen big pharma coming in. It's natural. These things are going to happen. And we always try not to judge and just to accept how that everyone's going to want to be involved essentially. But what it comes down to is that we are living in a time of multiple epidemics. We have an epidemic of addiction, epidemics of depression, epidemics of mental health, physical health. And it's not just robbing people of their life. It's like robbing the quality of life. And to me, we are here to live our fullest life and be the best version of ourselves. And so my only message to people is it is possible. It is possible to break the chains of stagnation and addiction and depression and chronic suffering. And it just takes the personal work. And we have found that psychedelic medicines, plant medicines, they are a catalyst. They're a tool to break through some of these really strong walls that we have put up, and a lot of the conditioning and the programming. but these things can also create that programming again, right? So I think that there's right and wrong ways to do it. And so it's good to have community. It's good to reach out to you guys on the medicine path, communities like us, Being True to You. There's a lot of other good communities out there, so that you're not alone. You have people to talk to. You are integrating, you're thinking for yourself, and you're finding what is true for you, and then you're cultivating that. So
Yeah.
I just want to give hope out there to people that it is possible to change, and there's a lot that can happen through plant medicine work if it's set up right, and if you do it right, and there's a lot of people that can help you do that.
And integration is, and I know we covered this before, but Mark and I started the plant medicine path because we feel that integration is the most important part of any psychedelic plant medicine, any kind of soul journey. It is, because it can go wonky quick.
Yep.
And it's just an experience, I think, without the integration, and it can be a bad one, a good one, a scary one, but you need that integration and people who understand what's happening, and you have created that.
And
Yeah,
you can. These medicines will change your life, like you said. I mean, you just need the proper tools.
Yeah, what we see is it shows you what it feels like when your heart is unblocked, and it shows you the top of the mountain, so to speak, but then you have to go cultivate it. That's the integration. And so some people think, oh, it's wearing off, it's not working, I got to go back and do it. And it's like, no, it showed you what it feels like to be unburdened. What it feels like to be unburdened, what it feels like to have your heart open, what it feels like to be at peace. Yes, all of that stuff is going to start to come back, but now you remember that feeling, you've tapped into it, and you've gotten some insights into what's blocking you. And so that's the integration, right? Is you go in, you open yourself up, you go back, of course, slowly all those problems are going to come back because you have to actually cultivate them away. And so that's the integration process. And so what we've come to realize is that integration is the purpose of plant medicine.
Yeah, you explained integration pretty spot on right there. That was a great explanation of it.
Yeah, it's important. It's really important.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Gosh, you too. You're so beautiful, and so heartfelt, and that's what's needed in this arena, is just really that heart, that character, that strength, and that true service to help each other. So, gosh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
We'll continue this conversation. We look forward to seeing you again.
Yay. Okay. Well, wonderful, you too. Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening.
All right.
Ciao. Have a great night.
Thank you.